Okay, today's guest is the president of the Entertainment Services of New York and WDI Artist Management. ESNY has been providing top quality entertainment services for over 18 years. And WDI Artist Management, based in Rome, New York, specializes in developing, representing, and booking national and international acts, particularly in the rock genre. Joining us now, let's welcome Bill Paolo to the show. Bill, how are you, my friend?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
Doing excellent. So tell us a little bit how this business originally took shape here.
Well, I luckily I grew up. My father was a projectionist, a stagehand, worked on some movies. So I kind of grew up in the business. So I always tell people I literally grew up in a theater. So that the Rome Capitol Theater, when you came to see Ace and a couple other shows, that was literally a playground for me as a kid. My father would be doing work. I'd be running around in the balcony, backstage, in the tunnels. And it just was something I loved growing up. I just couldn't get enough of it. When I left, I graduated high school. I ended up going down to New York and started working on film production. But I always really loved live shows. So after a few years, I kind of created a production company doing sound and lights, and then eventually getting into promotion years later. So,
yeah, excellent. And you guys run the full genre here. You got, not just concert lighting, sounds. You got everything pretty much handled here. Tell us about what the offerings are with your company a little bit.
Well, it all kind of started mostly because every time I would rent stuff from other people or relied on somebody, I always kind of felt like they never gave me 100%. So I felt that if I handled my own sound, my own lighting, my own promotion, marketing, handled the artist, I knew exactly what I was getting. And,
right. Good point.
And if you work with me like you've done on certain, you'll see that I'm on 100%. I live for it. I want to make sure everything is perfect. And that's kind of how it all kind of started. I wanted to make sure I was in-house, which also makes it a little bit more possible to bring in certain size artists that may be too large to be in a theater format into a theater format, because my costs are lower because, the techs are my techs, the gear is mine. And I can handle a lot of expenses on that way, keeping our ticket costs low. I mean, if you ever looked at our ticket prices, we're much lower than a lot of other venues across the board. But I want to fill a theater. I'm not looking to retire off a show. I'm looking to see 1,600 people at a show. I like the packed house feel. That vibe is like no other. So.
Yeah, definitely. You've had some really memorable shows you invited me out to, which I really appreciate. Obviously, Some of the ones that come to mind for me, Priscilla Presley out there doing her speaking tour. Was amazing to see her. Such a wonderful and kind lady. Very cool. Obviously, you got photos behind you. Ace Frehley, amazing show. And Doro Pesch, formerly from Warlock, another amazing artist they're working with. Tell us about working with some of these artists and what's going on behind the scenes. Give our guests a little scoop.
Oh yeah. Well, I was always lucky to get to work with Ace, especially on the 10,000 Volts tour. Obviously, he was clean and sober. He was, playing very well. I think the biggest problem just was the, age. Age really kind of played a major factor here. So, my concern just for him was that, and obviously that kind of became an issue. But I'm lucky because I get to work with them on a different level, meaning that we talk about a lot more personal things. We're not always just talking about the music and the tours. We can be talking about, car shows. And, Ace was funny because we were in Florida once and he had some time to kill, and he decided he wanted to go to a race car museum. And next thing you know, we're walking around the street, and now there's people there, and they think they know him, but they're not 100%.
They're not 100% sure.
He starts going to me, here, take a picture of me with this car. So it was like, he would be great like that. But, I got to tell you this way because you'll enjoy this. Any fan will. Ace will like to tell a few bad jokes during the show. and there were always these really bad one-liner jokes. Well, we're in Florida, and we stopped halfway going to one venue, and it was a CVS, and he comes out, and he wanted to sit in the back, and I'm in the front of the SUV, and he goes, "Hey, do you know what I bought?" And I go, "No, Ace." What? He goes, "I bought a book, 101 one-liners." So he starts telling me one joke, and now this is going on for like quite a while. He literally starts reading me the whole book, right?
Right.
So I'm like, oh my, it was hilarious. But he always he was friends with John Belushi before John Belushi passed away, and he said, the weekend before John Belushi had passed away, he was with him in New York, and he really was considering getting into comedies and doing stuff with John Belushi. They were going to do something together. I don't know if anybody else ever knows. It was a story, one day me and him were just sitting there having breakfast, and that's what he would tell me. But, Ace, people will tell you all different types of stories with him. I got to work with him at a point where we were really working on, securing finances for him, taking care of a tour that was losing money, and we made it so it made money in the end. A lot of moving parts to that. And, and I was grateful. Every night, every week, we usually did 2 or 3 dates in a run. I always flew back with him, got him to his house, and then he would do things like, now mind you, this is like 12:30 at night sometimes, time to, we get to the car service gets us to the house, and he'd be like, "Hey, Bill, come in and have a cup of coffee with me before you take a ride home, get some caffeine in you." And we'd sit there and we'd just chat about the weekend or old movies, and he loved The Wizard of Oz, favorite movie of all time. I know that for a fact because he'd tell me that all the time. But yeah, very, very, very cool. And then, Doro Pesch, absolute pleasure to work with. I know you interviewed her, recently. By far one of the hardest working artists in the business. It's nonstop. When I tell you, when we're working on something, she is 100% involved. I was just designing some new stuff for some stuff we got coming up. She's always looking at it, and she looks at every detail. She's great. And the fans love her. Because she, during a meet and greet, if there's an opportunity for a fan to come to a meet and greet, we got a really cool event I'll tell you about in a second. But at a meet and greet, she's not a person who just signs something, take a photo, and go away. If she sees a patch on your jacket, she's, "Oh, where'd you get that?" And then she'll start asking you, and she actually wants to know you. And that's not always the case with a lot of meet and greet situations.
Right. It's pretty much usually get your autograph, get your picture. We need to move along. Yeah. Kind
of like when you brought up Priscilla, because she was the same way. If you remember during the meet and greet, it felt like an eternity because she really wanted to know why you were there and why you were a fan.
Right. And she spent a lot of time talking with some of the older folks. Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's very important. But speaking of Doro, we have a handful of U.S. things. We have some stuff in the fall I can't disclose yet, but coming up, we're playing House Heroes in Houston, Texas, March 19th. But on the 21st in Clifton, New Jersey at the Club Dingbats, I created a special VIP experience. And with the ticket price, which you may seem a little high when you look at it, but what it includes is an actual show, a private show. It's not open to the public. So it's only the people who buy the VIP. So she's doing this really cool rock and acoustic set, but it includes all types of free things we're giving away: the posters, laminates, wristband, all this merchandise that comes with it. We're also going to have limited merchandise that you can't get anywhere else at the event. But with it also includes a meet and greet. She's going to hang out with you. It's not going to be stand in a line. She's going to walk out in the crowd with you, and we're going to take fun pictures and have a good time. We did one a few months back at Rock and Bones, the drummer for Nico McBrain, the drummer for Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Restaurant there, and we did it there, and it sold out. And it was quite a thing. And Nico came out, and it was, they had the new record, and they blessed it there. It was really kind of a cool thing to do. But I'm very honored, and I never take it for granted the opportunities I have to know that I work with the people I listened to in high school on the radio. to know they call me and I can call them. I was just at NAMM, and had Anthony Corder from Tora Tora, finish the song, go, "Hey everybody, Bill Paolo," you know what I mean? And I was kind of like, wow, that's kind of weird for me, you know what I mean? But it's,
Right.
they all know I'm a hardworking guy, and anything I ever do with them always is I give it 100%. So.
Yeah, but I totally agree with what you're saying. I've been lucky enough to talk with so many different artists and stuff that say with me that I grew up listening to this music and it just resonates so many memories and so much emotion from those times. But I think you really hit the nail on the head. What is such a great experience is when you have these meet and greets with some of these artists and they want to be personal with you. They want to talk with you because as we know, when we went through COVID, it was a scary time. So a lot of these artists didn't want to do that, and they're still a little scared about that, and rightly so. I totally understand that, But when you see some of these artists that want to go out there and actually talk with their fans, meet their people, and they're just and Doro was great on our show. She was a great interview. She's so personable, so nice. You know what I mean? I would have her back in a heartbeat. It's just that positive energy from her is just amazing, and to get back to Ace a little bit, that's all I heard from so many people. He was always funny, always had a joke. He always seemed to be in a good humor mood. He took things and let it go off his back and not at least be upset about it. He wanted to have some fun. He wanted to enjoy himself.
I'm not a musician, but I will tell you a moment that was pretty wild for me. And I told every guitarist I ever know about it, and they loved it. We were doing a show, and they brought in 3 guitarists that they had numerous musicians sign, and they were pretty full. And he looked at me, he goes, "Well, where do they want me to sign?" I go, "Geez, I mean, there's no room except on the neck." He goes, "Well, okay, we'll take all the strings off and we'll restring them." And I go, "Well, I'll help you," but I go, I'm, I don't know how exactly. He goes, "Oh, I'll show you." So next thing you know, and I'm going to my bag, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I know a million people who would die to be right here."
They would pay money to restring their guitar.
I was like, "Oh, no, you do it." He's grabbing my hand and he's showing me how to do it.
Yep.
I'm like, "Oh, okay." And those are amazing things that I just can't, explain to people. Those moments of having the coffee, he joked around even at the airport. It was funny. Somebody goes, "I think I know you." He goes, "I get that a lot." He just loved, having fun, but he'd take pictures, almost with everybody. There's always the moments, like I tell people, and those are always those moments that always seem to get captured and shared, are the ones that, like, we're trying to get somewhere, and so, we're late for something, and somebody's
right.
And there's just times where we just got to go, and it's and we're sorry, but but on average, it was a wild experience. And I don't know how to explain it other than I've been very lucky, and working with Monsters of Rock and working with everybody I had a cassette or a CD of is amazing. It's just blessing, you know what I mean, type of thing. And you don't take it for granted. And just like you, right? I mean, you interview these guys, and whether they're all dressed up for the interview or they're sitting on their couch, you're in their personal world. They're willing to share.
Yeah, you're definitely in their space, and sometimes it's maybe not a great day for them, and maybe they're not talkative, and some days, it's hard. But it's just like any other person, maybe having a good day, maybe not having a good day. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I never take their time for granted, and I'm always very appreciative of them coming and speaking with us and sharing, what's going on. Some of the other artists you have, which are really memorable for me, obviously Steve Brown from Trickster. Had him on a few times. Such a wonderful guy. Had a great relationship with Ace, working on 10,000 Volts. He's gone on. He's working with other artists. He's working with Lorraine Lewis and other folks. He's got his Bon Jovi tribute band going on now. But Steve,
and that sounds amazing.
Great. Yeah,
like it's coming to Turning Stone in May 22nd, 24th, right there. But that's when he sent it to me in the preview stages. I mean, it's just amazing. Like, he sounds amazing. So maybe one of the best tributes, if you can't get to go see Bon Jovi, well, I think that's really where you're going to get. And those are all classy musicians he's got with him. There are a lot of them from Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So it's going to be an awesome show. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to mention a couple other ones. So you were one of the first venues in the area to book Mr. Big during the Big Finish tour.
Yeah.
Other venues weren't booking them. I didn't understand it. I voiced my opinion to Billy about the same thing. Why isn't Buffalo area places standing up? They finally did. But you guys were one of the first in the area to do that. And I thought that was a great show. That seems like a no-brainer to me to have that. Was that your thoughts also?
Yeah, I mean, I was more friends with Eric because I had worked with him a lot prior when he was just doing solo stuff. And we wanted it right away. And I think we were like one of the three, probably maybe the third or fourth venue that confirmed contracts in the beginning. And we were like, for the while, like the only Northeast state. And then slowly it was like Long Island. And the Buffalo date came like way at the end, which was kind of shocking to me. But I mean, that was a killer show. I mean, you know, those guys, that's just another lineup of guys together that are like when they're performing, that energy is different than you would ever see anywhere else. There's just bands that have that when that live energy is like no other.
Yeah, definitely. And another band you brought back that's kind of come back a little bit from the 70s, which was great to see, and I think they looked amazing, was Angel.
Oh, yeah.
The show they put on and stuff that was going on for their show, it looked like a snapshot out of time when these guys took the stage to me. You know, it looked great.
It is, isn't it? I mean, that was and I was a little questionable in the beginning on that. It's kind of funny because, they wanted to know if they could do support on a couple of the dates. And I was like, I don't know if enough people up here know them, right? And boy, I have to tell you, a lot of people just bought tickets to see them. Who were big fans of them. So I was really glad. And, now they're doing their last tour. So that's another sad thing. A lot of guys are retiring, and, that's why I tell everybody, go out, support the shows, go see who you want to go see, because you may not get to see them if you don't go.
Exactly. Some of these artists are getting older, so now is the time. If you haven't had a chance to go catch them and see them, now you really need to think about it. And you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I really want to talk about it in depth a little bit more. The Monsters of Rock cruises, which are an amazing event. You know what I mean? This is like the Woodstock on the seas, if you want to call it that. It's so many bands and so much stuff going on here. Tell us, it's got to be so difficult putting this together. Give us a little bit of background on that.
Well, so I am a small piece of it. The amount of staff involved in this is amazing. I mean, people work all year. Everybody from the reservation people to artist booking to artist arrangements, and then we get into getting on the ship, and that's a whole world. That's where I come in with venue management. But I always say, everybody, if you wanted to take a shot at going to one of the best festivals ever, I recommend either going to our Monsters of Rock cruise, or every other year we do the Mountain, which is the land version for people who don't like going on the water.
Right, Monsters on the Mountain, yeah.
Little different vibe, but the reason I love the cruise is, I say, for the fans. If you are a fan and you want to catch your favorite artist once or twice on most of them do 2 shows, you get that opportunity. Usually you see them in 2 different style venues, like an arena or an outside show or a theater show, but they're there with you. So there's a chance there's all the photo ops are available with them. They do interviews. They play basketball. There's competitions. You can compete. You may go against your favorite musician of all time on a basketball court. You know what I mean? You could take a painting class with, like Alice Cooper. I mean, there's all these options. Faster Pussycat shows you how to make, Bloody Marys. I mean, these really crazy things that you would never get to. And they're there with you. And unless they're eating, they're approachable all day long. I mean, I always tell people try not to bow when they're eating, obviously,
Right.
but if they're on the promenade or something, they will talk music and history with you all day long, and it's an amazing experience. You're in the Caribbean. The weather's beautiful. There's shows all day long. I mean, it's incredible, and you have ports of call along the way. So it's like a vacation and all your favorite rock shows all in one big thing. And I can't say enough about them. I do a couple other cruises with that company I handle. Like we have a Cruise to the Edges going on. That's mostly progressive rock. If you're into prog, they also do On the Blues, which is more of a 60s, 70s vibe, which I also dig because there's musicians on there I never thought I would ever see in my life.
Right.
And I got to be really good friends and started to talk with Alan Parsons a lot. And he's a guy. You just talk to him, and he'll be there, and it's like, oh, when I mixed the Beatles or when I mixed Pink Floyd, and he's just telling you.
Right, just matter of fact, just matter of factly, just matter of fact,
just matter of fact, and he is not just an amazing musician, but a producer, and in all those cases, I can't say it enough. The opportunities you get to say you actually didn't just meet and greet, but you really got to hang out with the performers and their families. There's people I know who've gone out and become friends with so-and-so's wife,
Right.
They're friends with them all the time. And they're, and that's the thing. But I, even in your world, if you're a promoter, an interviewer, I think it's great for networking, because there's so many, different options there for you. So I highly recommend it to everybody. At least try it once, go. But I'm pretty sure once you go once, it's going to be addictive. You're going to want to go back. There's people who've been on every single one and have never given it up. And a lot of festivals around the U.S. aren't happening anymore. There's, or they're becoming very, very small, like M3 really downsized. And there's some other festivals that just canceled this year. We've been on the upswing for a while, and that's why we created the Inland Festival, the Mountain, as well. To kind of, give people an option during the summer for not going on the boat. There's people who are afraid of boats. I mean, it's ships. It's a big thing.
Right.
So, and then this is also, you don't have to fly. You can drive. It takes all that out option. And that's a huge lineup, Brett Michaels, John Waite, Night Ranger. I can go on all day with that lineup too. So it's, you're definitely getting the bang for the buck.
There's just look like amazing events all the time. I definitely need to jump on the cruise. I've been eyeing that for the last couple of years. I definitely got to get that worked out some way and see how I can maybe speak to some of these folks on there a little bit. That looks amazing. And we talked to Mike Fitz from Bad Marriage a while back, and he actually got signed on the cruise when he was talking with RFK Media there, because they were working out their deal, and he said, I signed right on the boat. Yeah.
Yeah. No, matter of fact, I just talked to Mike today because they just released that great video. I don't know if you saw it over the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, Bad Marriage is another one. I mean, they were new on the scene coming on to there, and that opened them up to a whole new fan base. That's the thing. If you're a band in that caliber trying to get to people who want that 80s, 90s rock vibe, you need to get to them. Because you don't know what they're listening to. Are they listening to Sirius FM? Are they listening to their local rock station? Are they listening to, there's so many options there for them. So this gets you in front of them. And first time I saw Bad Marriage, I was blown away. Them, Kicking Valentina, another one. They're another great band that I caught it, and I'm like, these guys are powerhouses.
Yeah, I just reached out to them yesterday, a matter of fact, to bring them on, because I'm loving their stuff. They sound great. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just talked to Jimmy, the drummer, today. Actually, they're great. They're huge in Europe. The thing in Europe, and it's funny, especially like with Doro, the music scene, the fans in Europe are like how we were in the 70s and 80s. I don't know how we've all kind of teetered out so much, but there on a Monday night, you could do a rock festival and everybody comes out. A rock club is sold out on a Monday or a Tuesday. It's hard to get shows during the week in the U.S., unless they're big national tours only. But I really hope people get out there and, enjoy the shows. Like I do in I want to keep the prices low, get the people out there, fill the house, come out and just enjoy yourself,
Yeah, you've definitely got some wonderful shows. Tell us about some of the lineups that's going forward, because I see your ads, I see your promos for stuff coming up. I know you got Vanilla Fudge coming up, and you got Pat Travers Band coming up. Tell us about what your shows are going on coming up.
Yeah, sure. So I got Almost Queen at the end of the month. If you've ever seen when I got a great Queen tribute, obviously Almost Queen. That'll be on the 27th. I've been good friends with Pat Travers for a while. I've been trying to get him up here. So I got a full show with him March 13th. And that's selling very well. If you have any chance to check him out, then we get into April, and I have a really cool event. April 3rd is almost the 2-year anniversary since Ace played the Rome Capitol Theater. So I have Ace's actual band coming up. All the guys, guitarist, bass, they're going to do all his solo stuff. But headlining the show, I got Chris Jericho and Quarantine that'll be doing all the 80s Kiss in forward. And I also have Bad Marriage on it as well. So it'll be one crazy triple bill night. Tickets for that start at $26. I mean, you can't, that's an unheard of thing. Then we get into Vanilla Fudge 60th anniversary tour. Can you believe that? I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
They're going to be April 24th. And then in May, I have a kids show. I got Blimpie coming in for everybody's got their kids or grandkids they want to bring to that. And then during the summer, I kind of my production was so busy with everyone's outdoor shows. I kind of just catered to those. But then back in September, then I'll start bringing shows back in. I got Zebra coming in, which will be amazing. That's their 50th anniversary tour as well. That's selling incredible. And I'm just about to secure Kevin Bacon. To bring him in, and the Bacon Brothers. People have been asking for them a lot. We have Mo coming. We have the Paul McCartney tributes coming. So we have a lot of stuff that's all coming in later in the year, but I'm always continuously booking, so you never know. I'm even booking, you may find this funny, from Happy Days, Donnie Most, who played Ralph Mouth.
I have seen them touring around.
Yeah,
Ralph Mouth and Potsy.
Yeah,
Anson Williams and Don Most. Yeah, doing their and maybe you can talk Henry Winkler into coming, because I see him doing some too.
I've got to work with Henry Winkler a couple times. He's great. He's a riot. But Donnie's got this really cool 50s Bobby Darin big band type of show. And you know what? I think it would just be fun. Sometimes I like doing shows. Oh, they're fun. So we'll see how that is. But that'll be coming in the fall as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm just about trying to keep everything going here in Central New York, because there was a while where I kind of felt we weren't getting any shows in New York State. They were skipping around us every way possible. And I'll be honest with you, from a promoter point of view, it is still a struggle. There's a lot of times they don't want to play upstate New York. I mean, they'll hit Albany. They're okay with it, but then it's like from Albany to Buffalo is like a big thing. They don't.
So I wanted to talk to you about that too. So I think a lot of people, fans especially, don't understand this, right? They're always like, why don't you play in my hometown? Why don't you come here? It doesn't work that way, folks. No. You got your promoter has to structure it, and it has to be worth it. What's the challenge for you with bringing some of these acts here as a promoter, would you say?
Well, I mean, there's a couple things. One, we have to see if they're doing a regular tour where they're available every day of the week versus a weekend tour, which most of these bands, because of age and demand, especially since our lack of venues here in the U.S. anymore, are kind of running like a Thursday through Sunday schedule. You know what I mean? So that's what they're selling. But with that, we have to get the routing as well. So they can't be playing in Vegas on Thursday, and I'm going, I want you in New York on Friday. they'll do it, but the amount of money would be so much you couldn't sell the tickets, right? Because now I'm buying airfare and everything else. So you got to get the routing to work. The problem that we have is that when people don't buy enough tickets in advance, and our offers, they say that affects the promoter's bottom line, the theater's bottom line, and the artist's bottom line. So, when the agents see all that, the promote and then so the agency areas like a demographic, right, of how sales are for merchandise, ticket sales, everything. And then on the promoter end, we look at it, their general sales everywhere else in the country. So everybody's looking at all these created numbers. Problem is in upstate New York, we're the lowest. We're like, it's kind of weird to know New York State is in the lowest end, but our high numbers are Albany to New York City. And pretty much it's just Albany always, and then New York. I mean, there's not much in between there either. But, those are just great turnout areas. And it's a lot to do with like Albany, you can go north and you're into Canada. So they can pull all the way straight down, right? They can pull all the way up from anybody north of the Tappan Zee Bridge or the, whatever the bridge is called these days. I'm still using the Tappan Zee. But that's the, that's the numbers we look at. And, we do good up here, but, Live Nation has the same issue. So it's not just independent promoters, it's like Live Nation, AEG. They're having those same problems where, and that's why you even see during the summer, some of the big shed shows that go to the outside theaters. Have you ever noticed they skip Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse? They go to Saratoga, Albany.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, so growing up back in the day, obviously the 80s, everybody hit Buffalo, and then everybody hit Rochester. Pretty much, usually on all those tours back in the day, you got to see those shows. And even before that, like going back from what I would hear, like in the 60s and 70s, Buffalo was kind of known as the town you tested your show out in to see how it was going to work. Yeah. You know what I mean? So now that's all totally changed. You're right. You're lucky if we get a show in Buffalo. Rochester's seeing it now where they're not getting the shows anymore. It's really, really tough. I don't know if it's economic, demographic, or the fan base is just older. I guess it's a combination.
Well, we have now this is my promoter hat, right? So now let's say I'm working with an artist and, I understand the artists all want to make money, but sometimes the fees they want, their guarantee is so high. I don't know if I want to put an offer in because I don't know if I could make that money back.
Right.
And or the ticket's got to be $150. That's why when you see these outrageous tickets, that's because there's math all involved in that. A lot of math. This is going to cost this. And you start breaking it down. And there's times I have to pass on the show. I'm like, this ticket would be too high. I don't think, if I, just like anybody, you could Google the average ticket price to go see Aerosmith, let's just say, right? Now, if you have it at a venue, you're going to bring them in. And you start realizing, our tickets are going to be 3 times the cost of the average. You may not sell enough tickets to even break even. So, that's a chance you're going to take. There will be people who are willing to pay it, knowing it's a smaller venue, they have an up-close seat. But there's a lot of people look at it and go, I can't afford $300 or $200, right? I mean, I get nervous on some shows where I start getting in that $80, $90 range. And I've had a couple shows where I've had to push it into the $100 range. I get very nervous about those, and they do sell, but, I get very concerned. I'd rather, as I said, I'd rather fill a theater than to see a theater with, quarter capacity, but hey, we broke even. Like
right. And I know that
is dead. So
and I know that's such the challenge nowadays because the artist is not making any money on their record sales, their physical product sales. They're lucky if they're making any money on their merch. So that's why a lot of these ticket prices have just gone. Obviously you're doing your best to try to keep things reasonable, which is great. But like you said, things get out of hand. I had tickets for the Aerosmith show for Buffalo. Before I had actually 2 pairs because the one pair cost me over $1,200 because I wanted to see Aerosmith when I'm going to see Aerosmith, right? I mean, back in the day, in the 80s, you'd pay $50 and I was front row center for sure.
Right, yeah.
Back in the day. But obviously, we know that if you want to see these people, you're either paying a couple $100 in a bigger arena or a couple $1,000, depending on who the artist is. You know what I mean? But yeah, I love the venue that you're working with out there. The Capitol Theater. It's a closer environment. It's more intimate. You're able to see the artist. You got that old style theater, which is very cool for the area. And the sound always sounds great there, for sure.
Well, but talking on production, I appreciate that because, I really, my thing is, you want everyone to walk out saying, I could hear it. It was crystal clear. The clarity was amazing. The light show was amazing. But, that goes along with the ticket price. Like, people don't realize the ticket isn't just paying for the artist,
right?
Because it's paying for the theater rental,
right?
The costs associated with the theater, which can be anything from cleaning to ushers to box office fees, the marquee usage. Then we get involved with permits for parking, with buses and tractor trailers. Then we have labor. I mean, people come in and are like, oh, it's a cool show. There's people who started working at 7 a.m. on a show, and they don't leave to 4 a.m. Our riggers, our electricians, our all those guys are working the whole day. And we have to feed them, and we have to feed the artists, and we have to get hotels, and all those things are within a budget. And we do a spreadsheet, and then we do our math and go, this is the minimum tickets can be sold for. Here's the medium, here's the high end. And that's what we work on. As it's really more complicated than I think people think.
Right. That's why I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit and let the fans know. I mean, I talked to the artists about it, and they always, tell us, what the challenges are as far as traveling, booking hotel accommodations, things like that is always a challenge for them doing that. But I think they need to understand the promoter side of it, what happens. It's not just like, oh, you missed my town. Let's go message, so-and-so and say, hey, please come here and play. It doesn't work that way. So many things need to coincide, like you're saying.
Yeah. And it's hard. I do feel bad, obviously I'm always on any artist I'm working on, any tour stuff. I'm always on their socials, and, it's a thing, like today, come to Kansas City, come here. Well, that's great. We can reach out to venues, but at the same time, the artist isn't calling the theater going, hey, come book me. Right. I mean, it's not how it's going to work. We also
I had 5 people say they want to see me here. Come and book me.
Right. I mean, it's a thing, and that's why everybody has to play it safe. As I said, it's just a lot involved, even touring, because of Ace's issue with passports and his taxes, we couldn't travel outside the U.S. So when we got bombarded, how come you don't go to Canada? Because we couldn't. So,
right. I heard about that. He was really trying to get out from underneath with that.
Yeah, and we were working hard, but I mean, I got to tell you, I come in, and when you're trying to get 10 years of taxes caught up, and Ace was a guy who put something in his pocket, a receipt. And I don't know what this is for. Well, that's not helpful, so but yeah, I mean, it was, it was a shame because towards the end, everything was really, getting very clean for him, on the finances and all that. So, if we had a little bit more time, I think he would have been in the clear altogether. But
yeah,
I tell everybody though, whether I know people always mocked his singing, but that's just what he sounded like. He wasn't. That was one thing I have to say. I always used to hate when people were like, "Oh, he's drunk." He wasn't. That was his nasally sound when he talked. Like the way he talked is the way he sang. Right. I mean, that's right. How it works. And people were like, "Oh," I go, "No, he left it all on stage all the time." And at the end of the night, he'd do the meet and greet. We take a break. We do the meet and greet, and we go back to the dressing room. And literally, I just let him sit there because he was 74. And that last year, he was tired, and that's all I tell you. People just had to listen. He was tired, and I know obviously when he passed, everybody got all crazy with things, but it's just naturally. He was older. I mean, it just was a thing, right? We're all going to get older. I mean, it's just a thing, but he lived it to the end.
Yep, definitely. And obviously, he's a rock icon, founding member of Kiss. Obviously, he started it for me because I saw them in 1978. It was my first concert, seeing Kiss at the Buffalo Memorial Auditorium, and that was it. You know what I mean? The show of shows they were billing it as back in the day for that. And once I saw Kiss, I was like, this is what a rock concert should be. So you gotta give them all respect for what they created. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, some other cool, things about him too. One day, I think it was like the first time we were going to meet to like talk about what I was going to take over, and I had already knew him prior. And I went to his house, and we're sitting there, and I don't know, somehow we're talking about the Kiss logo. He goes, do you want to see it? You want to see it? He goes, well, I have the original.
Yeah, because he designed it. Yeah,
he designed it, and he broke it all out. It was like the size of it was for a button, like a little round button, and he broke it all out. It had like the little funny part over the eye, and it had lips underneath, and the way it looked, I'm like, oh, I could see where he was going with it and how they simplified it, but it just was really, really cool. One other fun story is tell you. One time we were just talking, and I told him when I was a kid, I loved Kiss and the Phantom at the park, but I was scared of it because they show the shadows of Gene. I was like, oh my God, these guys are terrifying, and I was telling that story, and he goes off to tell me a story that was really comical. Mind you, these guys are already making tons of money at this point, right? Because they're top of their game. And, the movie was like they were being forced into pretty much, right? So he says he gets in his makeup in the morning, and they come in, knock on his chair, and go, hey, we're going to do your scene in the afternoon, so just hang out here. Well, he was mad. He's like, I came in early. So he got in his car, and security tried to stop, and he just left. So he's driving around L.A. He parks down at the museum. And the reason the story comes up, you'll figure this out in a second, is he goes, I stopped and I was walking, and he goes, the King Tut exhibit was touring. And that's what had brought it up, because I brought up, we were talking about Egypt. And he goes, let me tell you the story. And he goes, I'm outside and I'm just looking at the sign, the big plaque outside. And he goes, I have like half washed off makeup. I'm all sweaty. I'm a mess. And this lady walks up all finely dressed and goes, son, are you interested in this? And he goes, oh, I really like history, blah, blah, blah. She goes, here's a ticket. You look like you could really use it. and he goes, so I went in, and I went in, and he goes, it was amazing. But it was, that was the stuff, that was very enjoyable. I mean, I could tell you stories all day, but, really fun stuff like that. But, just go out, enjoy shows. That's what I tell people, man, there's never a song that comes on where I can, look at my fiance and go, I have a really great story about the song. You know what I mean? Because I've been told the reasons of these songs or what happened during the song when we were performing it or something. So, they're just great times.
Definitely. So, Bill, so great to speak with you and hear these stories.
Thank you.
People want to see what's going on with your shows. What should they look at? Where should they check out what's happening? Tell us.
I always say the best thing to do is follow us on social media at Entertainment Services NY. It's a black logo, like a red stripe, says Entertainment Services New York, because that's the most up-to-date nonstop. It's quicker than the theater postings because it's a third party that does that. We also cover events we're doing all over New York State, whether they're ours or we're just doing a part of it in some way. We're going to start doing some stuff up in the Saranac Lake George area this summer, and we're going to start doing some stuff down by Watkins Glen. So we're going to start bringing some outdoor shows to all those areas. So that'll be coming up as well.
Amazing. So, folks, check that out. Keep your eyes peeled. You never know what artists that Bill's going to be bringing us to check out. Those amazing shows that are coming. You were talking about Vanilla Fudge, Zebra, another one who hasn't been around in the area for a very, very long time. Really looking forward to that. And obviously, Monsters of Rock Cruise and Monsters on the Mountain, two amazing festivals, definitely.
Cool.
All right, Bill, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, folks. So that wraps up this episode of Talk About Rock. Thanks to my guest today, Bill DiPaolo for Entertainment Services of New York. And to our listeners, we hope you're doing your part by keeping the torch alive and supporting live music wherever you are. Bill, again, thank you.
Hey, thank you, man.